Good afternoon all, and thank you for joining the latest ISPA Insights webinar. I'm Christian, Head of Partnerships at ISPA, and today I'm delighted to bring you a webinar which showcases OpenWiFi and how it can deliver positive impacts for ISPs, MSPs, enterprises looking to provide comprehensive Wi-Fi environments for their users. Access to a reliable and versatile Wi-Fi is not only becoming increasingly important, but is also fundamental to how people need to provide connectivity to their end users in the modern age. And there's a variety of systems and circumstances where Wi-Fi and specific solutions for Wi-Fi may be advantageous and maybe something that ISPs want to look at. So today we're delving a little bit into the OpenWiFi ecosystem, the benefits it can bring both in a commercial sense and also in a quality sense to end users, and how it can potentially drive change across the sector. So thank you all for joining. Just some small house rules from my side. We are going to delve into a few case studies alongside our partner EPS and Ciara, and Barry from EPS will be joined by Cory and Marco from Pavlov Media and Thyssenkrupp Material Services to kick us off. And then we'll delve into Andy at ASPOR, who's one of the leading managed service providers in the UK, and his journey through with OpenWiFi. And then we'll finish out the discussion with a panel session for the final half of the webinar today. Feel free to ask any questions throughout the duration of this webinar. If I could ask that most of the listeners remain on mute, but put any questions you have got for the speakers in the chat. And at the end of the session, we might have some time for a few questions to run through with the speakers. And without further ado, I'd like to pass on to Ciara, who'll be taking us through a bit about EPS, who are partnering with us for the webinar, and through the case studies as well.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks for having us join today. I'm just going to share my screen now with everybody, and I'll also say welcome and hello. Now, okay, everybody can see that?
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect. Okay, great. So yeah, we're here today to talk about enhancing connectivity in interconnected places and how comprehensive open Wi-Fi can provide a suitable commercial solution for this. And so just click here. Now, so my name is Ciara McCarthy. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at EPS Global. We are a value-added distributor based in Dublin, but we've 28 global locations, out of which we support all of our customers. So that's why we say global reach, but local presence, because there's offices in each of those regions. We have local language and currency support, and there's always someone you can pick up the phone to. We provide stock availability and sourcing from our regional distribution hubs. We have pre-sales tech support teams around the world, and we're an authorized distributor. Just for peace of mind, we are the authorized distributor for the products that we sell, the products and software. So you're always getting it from the right source and with the right support. This is kind of an overview of our map and where our offices are located. Those are the countries in which we have offices, but actually we cover the globe as regards customers and selling. Our global deployments look a little bit like this. So we work with managed service providers, ISPs, data centers around the world, and this is just a smattering of them here. We are doing a lot at the moment with OpenWiFi for enterprise, industrial, hospitality, and MDU. And this screen just kind of shows a mix of the hardware that we provide. So we provide all of the access points, we provide the controllers, we provide the switches, the routers, and the optical transceivers. So anything you need in order to be able to deploy OpenWiFi, we provide. We only work with the leading and cutting edge hardware and software providers across the world. And what we do is we bring together their solutions to work with customers. So you may or may not have seen some of our unboxing videos on YouTube or on our website, but we have a switch lab in Dublin. What we do here is we integrate turnkey solutions for our customers, and two of our customers are the case studies that we're focused on today, which is Thyssenkrupp Material Services based out of Germany and Pavlov Media based in the US. What we do at the Switch Lab is test, configure the hardware and provision the hardware for our customers. So we're talking about access point switches and routers there, and all of the software required. Barry that you see here in the photo, that's Barry McGinley. He's our head of technology for EMEA. He features in a lot of our unboxing videos where we show you the hardware, give you a look under the hood and describe some of the features. And we also record a lot of podcasts there. So we'd encourage you to look at our YouTube or our website to take a look at more of those videos. And then you'll hear a bit from Barry later because he is on the panel. So I'd like to first introduce then Marco Decker, who is the head of connectivity at Thyssenkrupp Material Services GmbH, which is one of our customers in Europe.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ciara. Yeah, thank you for having me here. Sorry for my dialect, my German one, also from the area Ruhrgebiet in Germany. We have a little bit special dialect, maybe. I hope you understand me. So yeah, we are a company Thyssenkrupp Materials. We are responsible for the materials part of Thyssenkrupp, a big trading area. We have many locations around the world, and yeah, we need to get all the sites stable connected, so that every time our business is able to deliver their solutions to the customer. So for us, very important that our supply chains are working and that we have a very high stability in this area. Can you please go to the next slide? Okay. So we have about 16,000 employees around the world, 380,000 sites. So especially for my area, about Europe and APEC, we have about 280 to 290 sites, still a big number. And we was working hard and still working hard to get every site to a standard that we find in every site and location the same setup of switches, the same setup of network hardware, and for sure also the same setup of access points. In the past, there was many different vendors used by Thyssenkrupp Materials, but for troubleshooting reasons and for operational reasons, you know, it's always more simple to have one product line, one working solution that fits everything. And this is something where we're working hard that we getting all these 300 sites here aligned and have one working solution. The next one, please. Yeah, so in this steps when we were thinking about what we can do to get everything aligned, to get everything to a Thyssenkrupp Materials standard, how we call it, we was before setting up a network of software-defined LAN infrastructure, also supported and helped by EPS Global. And we had very good experience in this area with open networking. So we was going away from the traditional network that you maybe know, or the big providers that are there, HP, Cisco, Juniper, and so on. And we was going the way to make something new for us, go to open networking, implement new systems, go this way of software-defined networking, and had very great experience. So in this step, when we now decided that we want to renew our hardware in this area of Wi-Fi, we spoke with EPS and with Frank Kremer, who is our contact in Germany for EPS. And I asked Frank, okay, Frank, we have 280 sites. We need new hardware. We need a new software-defined or whatever solution that is working perfectly for us, that is scalable, that is fitting our needs. And what could be an option for us? So do you have something? And in this way, we was introduced to OpenWiFi. So first, we took a look to the solution, make some conversation about prices, and we was really surprised about the price difference to the manufacturer that we knew before. So we decided to step into a proof of concept, take some test sites, some test rollouts, getting some experience, and make some proofs together with the business to see if this could work for us. Yeah, and it was a really great experience. We were surprised about solution and also surprised about the flexibility that we saw there. Yeah. Thank you. So about the okay, we can go to the next.
Apologies, I thought you were ready for the next one, Mark.
It's all okay. So I try not to speak too much. It's a little bit difficult. There's so much to tell about and so much experience about this.
You tell me when to go on.
Yeah, it's so much experience. So so when you start in this area of open Wi-Fi, there's so many things that you can do. You are so flexible. You're not taking just a product from a warehouse that you have to use how it is. So you have so many things to adapt, so many things to change. You can do things by yourself, but you can also use commercial support. And but you could, like I say, you can also work together with communities and do many things by yourself. We as Thyssenkrupp decided to get a little bit professional service from EPS to our side because we had not the option to spend so much time in the development parts and figure things out. So we liked always to have a partner who knows everything about these topics, and especially thankful here in the role of Barry, who helps us with these solutions and bring everything in place at our customers. So there's also a little bit about the deployment part. So the deployment for us is really easy. So we just order the hardware. EPS is taking care about the hardware. So we task some steps out to EPS. So we wanted that the hardware is shipped to the site, to the business site, and a not so technical experienced person can take the access point and implement it into the network. So EPS takes care about the software image, about the testing, about the documentation of the serial numbers, all the things. So that and they do also the onboarding on the controller for us, so that we know that the connection from the access point to the controller, internet-based, is working. So that we know when the box is shipped to the site that everything is working. So we don't need to worry if something was broken or if it maybe was not working before. This is all something that APS is doing for us, so that we know something is going to the box, going to the site. It was working. Yeah? And we can tell anybody, take this access point, go to the place where the old one is, just change the cabling, and the access point is working. Yeah, the most complicated topic here in this case is sometimes that you need maybe drill some new holes in the wall because the wall brackets or something need to be adjusted. That is the most complicated part in bringing a new access point online for us or for the technician that we have here on site. Okay, next one, please. Okay. Yeah, so challenges. So everything is very well prepared for us. So there was not really big problems by the installation part or any issues. It's really dramatic to see how easy this deployment is working. So we had in the past with our other manufacturer that we had in place before, many problems with coverage, interruptions, missing connections to the controller, access points was rebooting because they're not seeing their controller. This all is gone with this open Wi-Fi solution. So we have here a very stable connection. We have a very good coverage as fast as we can see in our warehouses. So as Thyssenkrupp, we are having many warehouses. You can imagine that we have big places where we have to store or material. It's sometimes difficult getting the signal of every corner of a warehouse when the material is going to the roof. Then the signal is not going through the material, and you have coverage problems. These problems we don't see at the moment with OpenWiFi. For sure, this is one improvement in Technic, but it's also a fact that the solution is much more economic than we had it before. So it's very, very easy just to make a decision, just order 2 or 3 access points more to have a better coverage in this area where you need it. You know, so before I was thinking about, okay, I have to spend maybe 700-800 euro for an access point. And now we have just a very, very small part of this price. You know, so it's very easy to say, okay, when I'm not sure if the coverage is okay, just order 2 or 3 access point more and you will be fine. Also from the license cost and license management, these prices are really, really, really great. So, and only thing that sometimes it was running into problems that we had some places where we had our old environment in place and the new environment sending out the same SSID. There you don't have something like a handover. Sure, there are 2 different systems, no handover from the one to the other system. Then maybe when you have a guy who is walking around with his scanner or something, he loses a connection, but in the next moment he already got his connection again. So this is when you need to, something that you need to think about when you implement a new solution and you still have the old one in place. That you have overlapping signals that can sometimes lead to a problem. We just decided to make an exchange always in a big bang. So, and after business hours, we changing the access points, taking the old ones down, taking the new ones up, and then we are done and not running into the problems. And like I say, the implementation and bringing on the access points is very, very easy because the most steps are already done by EPS before. Good. What's the next one? Yeah, what I already say about experiencing excellent signal. So compared with other vendors that we had in place, other manufacturing, the coverage is great. Sometimes it's better than we have it before. The performance is really good. So in our warehouse systems, most important for us is stability of the signal. So the most guys running around with scan guns, so scanning material that has to be loaded to trucks in connection with the SAP system. So we don't need much bandwidth, but we need stability. And for sure, we have also office areas where we then need to take a little bit more look for the bandwidth, because this guy is always doing a little bit more like high definition camera systems where you have to deliver a high bandwidth, or they doing file transfers to OneDrive, something like this. So we have both aspects. We have for the office users, we need more bandwidth that gets delivered by the solution, and we need and we have also the warehouse user with their scan guns who just need stability in whatever place of the warehouse they are, that they have the connection with their scanner. So we have about a cost reduction about 60%. So the OPEX and CAPEX costs are much more lower than the solutions that we had before in place. The business is very, very happy about the saving, and they are very, very happy about the stability of the service. So what I can say is the sites that we changed to OpenWiFi are sites that are running very, very well. The most problems are still have at the moment with sites that are still on old solutions that we still not changed, but we're working hard on it to get every site also to the new OpenWiFi solution and get also rid about these problems that we still have there in these places. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Marco, thanks so much for that really good overview of the OpenWiFi solution that we've deployed together. Then I just wanted to introduce Cory Douglas, who is the CEO of Pavlov Media and one of our US-based customers. Cory, I'll hand over to you, and if you just say next when you want me to move your slides on. Thanks.
Sure. All right. Yeah, thank you for inviting me to take part in today's webinar. This is a topic that is, like you heard from Marco, something that we're very interested in and something that we could spend a lot of time talking about. But for the sake of today, I'll try to keep it high level and just talk about our company and how we've embraced open Wi-Fi. So as Ciara said, my name is Cory Douglas. I'm the CEO of Pavlov Media. We are located in Champaign, Illinois. That is where the company was founded 33 years ago. Pavlov Media is a designer, a builder, and an operator of networks in 150 cities throughout the United States and Canada. Our company started out in the beginnings as a internet service provider focused strictly on off-campus student housing. Over time, the company has evolved, and we now provide internet and broadband solutions to not only MDUs, but also single-family homes and businesses as well. That's one of the things that makes us different from a lot of other companies in the industry. As we started an MDU and moved into more of an ISP model, building fiber throughout the United States as opposed to doing it the other way around. As you can probably imagine, purpose-built Wi-Fi solutions are critical for the communities that we provide service to, so that they can fully recognize the benefit of the fiber optics that we're actively drilling and hooking people up to our networks. We've been members of the Open Wi-Fi community since 2021 and are active contributors. So Ciara, can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So our start into open Wi-Fi can best be summarized as necessity is the mother of all invention. Not all invention, but some. Until 2021, Pavlov Media was partnered with a very small number of Wi-Fi manufacturers. Our partnerships are strong, and the products we use were widely accepted in the markets that we serviced. However, in preparation and response to supply chain disruptions caused by COVID, we joined the Open Wi-Fi community in 2021. After taking a chance on some of the new access point hardware, specifically from EdgeCore, we partnered with NetExperience to orchestrate our Open Wi-Fi products, and really the rest is history. You can now find our Open Wi-Fi products in single-family homes, MDUs, and businesses all over the country, with approximately 20,000 Open Wi-Fi access points deployed to date. I think one last point I'd like to make on this slide is that the more that we've become involved in the community, the more we've come to appreciate how this ecosystem of products allows us to support a larger number of customers. It's our mission here at Pavlov to connect not only devices, but the hearts and minds of people that are connected to our network infrastructure. With a lower price point entry, multiple form factors, and an open code base, we've been able to provide modern connectivity solutions for users that may have never been able to experience a managed Wi-Fi solution before. Next slide, please. Okay, specific to our deployment types. So as mentioned earlier, we have open Wi-Fi products deployed in MDU, single-family homes, and businesses. Of those segments, our MDU environment currently has the largest concentration of open Wi-Fi hardware deployed. So if we want to focus in a little bit on the MDU vertical right now, I think it's important to say that we've had success meeting the demands of both off-campus student housing and conventional housing customers in this MDU vertical. At a very high level, the primary difference between these two segments are that the off-campus housing clientele has turnover every 12 months. So as college students come to campus, they move in, and as the school year's over, they move out. So building a network infrastructure that can accommodate hundreds of thousands of people coming in and moving out in a very short amount of time takes careful planning and preparation to make sure all the components work together seamlessly. Conventional housing doesn't experience that necessarily. It's residents that live in conventional housing are typically there for longer periods of time. So while there are a lot of other differences, I think that is the most significant as it relates to making sure that you've got a product set that can accommodate each one of those verticals. So other typical deployments, or I'll say our typical deployments, will have at least one access point in every unit of the property that we're servicing, connected directly to a switch in the unit, a switch stack in the IDF, or a switch stack in the MDF. Furthermore, there are several product models that work well when mounted on the wall, ceiling, or outdoor environments. So whatever the use case is, whatever the nuance is with, a property owner might say, we want to make sure the lights are off, or we want to make sure that a cover, hides the Ethernet cables that are coming into the back of the AP. We found models that have been able to satisfy the requirements and demands of our customer base. Then lastly, being able to effectively implement RRM and security is a must in high density and B2B environments. By using net experience in the cloud, we're very easily able to deploy thousands of APs at a site with minimal effort. The management, automation, and analytics allow our support teams to operate effectively and efficiently. Next slide, please. Yeah, so, as far as challenges, kind of like Marco said in the beginning, figuring out the certificate issue was a little bit of a challenge for us. But outside of that, I think the only thing that I'd want to mention here is that, the appeal with OpenWiFi is the openness and the ability to kind of do with it what you may. We had initially set out on the path of deploying our own controller or wanting to develop our own controller to manage all the open access Wi-Fi environments. But we estimated a minimum of 12 months for us to deploy the solution with the feature set that we were going to require. We found out early on that it did not make any financial sense to reinvent the wheel when there are viable products on the market. And instead, we were able to take those development resources that are internal to Pavlov and have them focus on meaningful integrations with line of business applications into that environment, instead of having them recreate a product that was already out there. So along the same lines, we had to learn to drive innovation through the OpenWiFi community, as opposed to putting pressure on single hardware vendors like we had in the past. Understanding that there's a benefit to uploading code and making sure that we're communicating within the community was something that was just new to us. But now that we've got it figured out, I'd say that things are working really well. Next slide, please. So what are the results of our OpenWiFi deployment initiatives? To date, I'd say we've got a wider range of product and pricing options to offer potential customers. As we expand into new verticals, new markets, we're able to talk to more customers than we were before, just based on this, these option sets that we didn't have previous. We're less exposed to disruptions in global supply chain. As much as any one vendor wants to tell you they're perfect, they're insulated from any potential disruptions down the road. That's something that we're not comfortable doing. By going OpenWiFi, we've got different manufacturers and different methods to be able to receive product. And then lastly, we're able to take some of those line of business applications that we depend on and create deeper integrations into the OpenWiFi ecosystem that before were not possible. So all this has led to us deploying well over 20,000 OpenWiFi access points. And given the success that we've had, we've already got another 10,000 committed for 2025, and expect that number to go up quite a bit. So that's all I have. Thank you.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much, Cory. Thanks for explaining the deployment so well. I'm going to hand back over to you, Christian. You just let me know when you need me, or Andy, when you want me to move forward the slides.
No, that's fine. No, thanks very much. And Cory, that was interesting to hear your point around kind of starting as MDU, moving into residential, and the decision making process to why OpenWiFi was viable for you. And it's something that potentially could be transferable to the UK market, especially given kind of the context of where the UK market's at and the kind of different avenues of revenue ISPs are looking at. And kind of to that point, I'd like to introduce Andy, who's the group CTO and product director of Ask4 Internet, who are a long-standing ISPA member, but also one of the most notable MSPs within the UK market. So, Andy, it'd be great to hear your insights on OpenWiFi and driving the community forward.
Thanks, Chris. Really happy to be here. I'm going to build, I think, on a lot of the story that that Cory has already told, to talk about the deployment of OpenWiFi in a UK context, and talk about how our experiences were similar or slightly different deploying OpenWiFi. First of all, who are we? We are we're, as Chris said, we're a managed service provider who specialise in the provision of managed internet access and other network services, smart building services in various kinds of MDUs. We're everything wireless connectivity within buildings where people live and work. Next year we'll be 25 years old. We've got offices in the UK where we're headquartered in Sheffield. We also have offices in Madrid and Berlin. We operate over 200,000 access points on the network. They're not all deployed in the residential units where people live. We've got some Wi-Fi areas in industrial and commercial applications as well. But we really are a specialist provider for MDU, particularly in student where we're particularly well known in private sector student housing across the 12 countries where we work. When it comes to Wi-Fi, historically, we've deployed the typical vendors that you'd expect us to. In 2023 and 2024, we have deployed more Cambium and Huawei than other vendors, but we've got an increasing amount of edge core access points running OpenWiFi on the network. And this presentation is going to explain why and why we found it and what we learned when we started rolling it out. Could we go to the next slide, please? Right. What were our goals when we started this project? So it must be said that we were very, very happy with the support and service we were receiving from our traditional vendors, Cambium and Huawei. But we wanted to address concerns we had about the supply chain or the availability of equipment as a result of the 2022-2023 hardware crunch that many managed service providers might have experienced, not just for network equipment, but a wide variety of IT equipment. And that meant that OpenWiFi, because it's an opportunity to run a consistent operating system and a consistent orchestration system, hardware you can source from multiple vendors, it gives us increased confidence in the availability of access points. But it also means that we can select access point manufacturers who tackle slightly different use cases, subtly different use cases, so that we're able to delight every client and meet every single one of their expectations for managed wireless service. Additionally, as an organization, we've got a successful open source mindset. We run an awful lot of open source network technology in our network and across our service, and the ability to run an open source operating system on access points means that we can do things that we really, really want to do, that we know we want to do right now, and address features and opportunities that we haven't yet understood, because we're in control of what we run on the access points and in the controller. And when we're trying to troubleshoot or understand what's going on, we can actually inspect and we can understand the code that's running in the controller and running it in the operating system. You just can't do that in non-disaggregated network applications. You cannot do that with the traditional vendors. So we decided that we wanted to try OpenWiFi. We had some we tried it in a residential site where people actually live, and the client pays us money to deliver a reliable service. So if we advance to the next slide, you can see about our open Wi-Fi trials. We looked for a site about 18 months ago initially. We've been running open Wi-Fi for about 18 months in production environments. We tried it in our lab before then, but we wanted to do a real site, a real test where people live, and in the way that other MSPs might want to do with a single site as well. We specifically in the trial wanted to look at the technical suitability of open Wi-Fi. Both the controllers, we couldn't pick between the various controller options that are evident. There's Net Experience that we've heard about today. EdgeCore have their own controller. There's other controller vendors like Shasta Cloud, and you can download the SDK and run it yourself. And we wanted to understand the differences and similarities and the capabilities of the different controller options. We wanted to understand if we could build an open Wi-Fi controller into our orchestration system. How easy was it to automate? How easy was it to deploy? And we wanted to see how the hardware performed when it was running APNOS, the actual open Wi-Fi operating system that runs on the APs. We also wanted to make sure that it wasn't going to affect any end user performance. Our end user is going to behave differently in a site with open Wi-Fi. Are they going to ask for more support, or is it just going to work? And it was a chance to try, to try possible partners and vendors in the field. So if we advance to the next slide, following an extensive lab test, we picked a real live location back in March 2023. We picked a high quality student accommodation building that was relatively close to our headquarters. And we picked a real revenue site. It was backed by a contract. It was backed by an SLA, meaning it just had to work. We had to have the confidence that what we'd seen in the lab was going to match what expectations a real client would have that was paying us for a working service. Now, when we tested it in the lab, and before we actually ran an open Wi-Fi network and a traditional network in parallel. We didn't remove the traditional access points at the beginning of the trial, which meant that the production SSID, we maintained the ability to run it on the legacy platform and the open Wi-Fi platform at the first site. And it also meant that we could perform real tests in the building before we switched resident traffic on. And it's great that we did, because if we advance to the next slide, we can see that there were both in the lab test and in the real environment back in 2023, there were some bugs, you might say, or opportunities to engage with the development team is another way of looking at it, that we had to address. There were some interesting behaviors that we saw when we tried putting real client devices from that use non-Latin character sets for their host names, for example. We could see that the RRM, as indicated by Cory, didn't quite perform in a way that it would need to perform on in an MDU, and we could see that there were some challenges that related to access points not re-authenticating with the controller after the upgrade. We worked, unlike with a traditional vendor where where you'd file the bug and wait for it to be resolved, maybe with a patch release or maybe with some arm's length engagement. We could file the bug and then join the engineering calls with the developers to make sure that the bugs that we found or the features that we needed were understood and the resolution was progressing in the appropriate way. And because it's open source, we could write the test cases. Our developers could write test cases that are used to assure that the same bugs and the same performance issues that we had at launch won't reappear. It's a fantastic way of working with a vendor to sit side by side with the software developers. And because it's an open platform, you've got the choice of open sourcing new features or keeping them secret and allowing you to differentiate. So for example, when we worked on a new RRM that was specifically tailored for MDU environments, for high density residential environments, we chose to open source that for the benefit of the full OpenWiFi using community. But we've got additional features which help us assure our service works at the highest quality way, which we haven't open sourced. That's the S4 deployment story. Looking forward to the rest of the conversation.
Oh, thanks, Andy. It's really interesting to hear that from a UK point of view, and also someone that's clearly put a lot of thought into moving away from maybe the traditional Wi-Fi environments and adopting open Wi-Fi as an alternative option. And that kind of leads me to the panel discussion. I'm kind of the first question within it, which is around kind of Wi-Fi environments. They can be quite diverse and require flexibility. And what approach people take to building those Wi-Fi environments, and why, I mean, it's a multi-stage question, and why people think open Wi-Fi is potentially gaining traction across the ISP market. Now, I'm going to go to Barry, who's not spoke yet on the call, to give him an opportunity to have his thoughts, just to open up and kind of your thoughts as to kind of building Wi-Fi environments and why you think open Wi-Fi is an optimal solution for ISPs.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Christian. Yeah, so you mentioned a few words there. You mentioned flexibility, diversity, and things like that. So that's perfect for open networking. So I think the two lads explained quite well. So Marco and Cory about their solutions, but they mentioned a lot of things during it. So open networking was mentioned, open Wi-Fi was mentioned. And what I'm just going to do is I'm going to do this in 1 minute. I'm going to explain what open networking is, where it came from, because it's quite important to explain open Wi-Fi within open networking and where it actually came from. So 2010, hyperscale data centers want to do switching themselves. So they don't want to be held over a barrel. So they go off, build switches, and then they put their own operating system on top. So Facebook has FBOSS, Microsoft Azure has Sonic, which most people will know now. So then that's hyperscale data centers. That's fine. Within the next 4 or 5 years, it starts to trickle down into enterprise data center deployments. So then speed forward 2016, and the telecoms industry says, I want a little bit of that. And they start looking at routers. So first it was switches for data centers, and then we started looking at the telecoms industry. And now TIP was formed in 2016, and this was Deutsche Telekom, Telefonica, Orange. So all the big players, and they want a little bit of this bare metal routers with software going on top. So speed forward 3 or 4 years, and we have access routers, we have aggregation routers, we have core routers that can actually scale up to 1,000 ports using a fabric switch. We have transponders, we have all sorts of optical gear as well. So there's one place left, and that is enterprise and campus deployments. So that kind of started about 2 or 3 years ago. And it's always been something open networking has looked at, and it's been difficult. They looked at it kind of on the switching side, 1 gig switches. They're used to building big, powerful top of rack switches, which aren't the same switches required for enterprise or campus deployments. So this open Wi-Fi started. It actually turned into what's called open LAN within the telecom infra project. And basically, so the open Wi-Fi is your access points, and then open LAN is going to look at 1 gig PoE switching software for those switches as well. So that's a little quick history of open networking, how we got here and why we got here. It's kind of taken in chunks. So we started with hyperscalers, moved on to telecoms, and now we get into the nitty gritty of smaller devices. There was a second part to that question, was there?
Well, I suppose the question is, why do you think, and this is probably where someone like Andy or Cory might come into this, is why do you think that's an attractive alternative for ISPs delivering a variety of different Wi-Fi environments, whether that's MDU or public spaces, that kind of thing, and that kind of leads into a further question down the line. So I don't know whether, Barry, you want to answer that, or Andy, and And Cory, you feel like you want to?
Well, I think so why they look at it is because of the history within open networking. So we're deploying open networking solutions with a bunch of altnets, more on the access router and aggregation router side. But as these new technologies come on, and I see it with service providers all the time, they're not afraid to try stuff. So you have maybe a bank is using Meraki, and that's what they've always used. They don't worry about how much they spend. But ISPs have to differentiate themselves. They have to look for little ways of making money. And so that's, I do see them actually looking at this properly.
Can I come in on the why is it attractive from a design point of view as well? The great thing about the OpenWiFi access points, or our design strategy has not had to change as a result of deploying OpenWiFi. So our designs are based on the antenna patterns and behaviors and receive properties of the access points. The individual hardware characteristics of the access points that we select. We've been able to use the same methodology as we've onboarded the OpenWiFi capable APs, pardon me. And similarly, the OpenWiFi controller that we've selected, the EdgeCore EC Open one, is able to integrate with our orchestration system. So our teams that deliver configured access points are going to be able to use their existing internal tooling. It's not going to feel any different. And that's a key advantage that we were looking for.
And Cory, I know you deliver it across the US. From a commercial point of view and maybe an adoption point of view, why is OpenWiFi maybe attractive to you as a big ISP in the US market?
Yeah, sure. So for us, it's looking at the big picture. It's looking at the value of the overall solution. It's more than just the hardware. It's more than just being open source. It's the entire picture. It's the experience that we're trying to deliver for whether it's a home user, a business, or MDU, that we feel that this ecosystem gives us the ability to differentiate. Just the open nature in and of itself allows us to integrate applications that are purpose-built line of business applications that are very effective at doing what they do, and we want those to continue playing a role in our networks. We don't want to have to move to something else entirely just for the sake of a new piece of hardware that we're wanting to introduce to the network. So I'd say in addition to being able to create those custom integrations with line of business applications, the network disaggregation that a couple of people have talked about allows us to focus on improving only the specific areas of our platform that need to be changed, as opposed to being held over the barrel and doing massive forklift upgrades every time something on the network needs to change to meet a customer demand. So those two factors, the integration, the ability to integrate with the open source code, the network disaggregation, those create a lot of value for your platform, and it helps drive a better ROI and TCO as well within the organization.
Yeah, so that's always nice to be heard, especially in the UK market with investors knocking on the door and asking for greater ROIs.
Right.
And I think it was Andy, you touched on that as well, and Barry, in terms of traditionally it has been kind of the scale providers that have been developing these open Wi-Fi systems, but we're now at a point where the altnet community and the smaller ISPs are able to adopt them, and there is a community behind that.
Yeah, the features that have been that are most mature in the open Wi-Fi stack better suit managed deployments. That's absolutely true. But because it's an open environment, there'll be particular. I believe that there's no reason why CPEs that are traditional ISP and altnet or other kinds of residential ISP couldn't take advantage of as they deployed and rolled out their managed CPEs. I can see a future, for example, where APs from different manufacturers running open Wi-Fi and AP NOS and other open Wi-Fi compatible technologies will be able to do channel planning between residences and that sort of thing for the benefit of the people that are living in those properties, as an advantage of ISPs being able to participate in the delivery of software that benefits their users. That's the real benefit, and that's not specific to the managed MSP environment. There's no reason that anyone deploying Wi-Fi can't take advantage of that.
And Andy, I know you might be aware of the kind of MDU problem the sector has at the moment, the urban hotspots. Do you think Open Wi-Fi has a role in solving that as an issue? Cory, maybe you could lean in from the US point of view, or Marco from a consumer point of view. Do you think it has a role in solving that problem?
That's an interesting question. I think that we wouldn't classify any of our buildings as not spots on the basis that we've designed ubiquitous coverage for the people that live and work in those buildings, and we're not using traditional residential technologies to access mediums, for example, to build into that. So we're not, provided we can get access to wholesale connectivity in the area, we've got a way of delivering service inside the building, and managed radio environments often perform better than unmanaged radio environments, which does address a particular connectivity need for residents.
Thanks. And I was just going to loop back into the kind of original question and maybe touch with Marco here. So Marco, you're obviously a consumer of Open Wi-Fi as a solution, maybe not necessarily a purveyor of it like some of our other speakers. Talking onto why it's gaining traction within the ISP market, as a consumer, do you think Open Wi-Fi is the only current solution you'd explore in the market now implementing it, or is there alternatives you would explore? Is it the kind of the ultimate thing you've seen in your duration at Thyssenkrupp Material Services?
Yeah, we also took a look at other solutions. But to be honest, we started, if I remember correctly, with edge core access points and with edge core controllers. So like Andy told about this. But my team is just an operating team. So the guys are not having so much knowledge about about configuration with JSON files or something like this. And when we started with this topic, this controller of edge core was very, very JSON based, and so my team not really liked it. So the guys like clicking buttons, having dashboards, and having results. But the big benefit from Open Wi-Fi is you can change everything. So we decided to change the controller. We was going to HFCL, and this time they was offering some that was looking a little bit in the direction like a Cisco wireless LAN controller, have these features, you could click, you configured, you had your parameters, what very, very easy for my team to adapt it in the daily work. But the flexibility goes in every way. So when I decide, for example, tomorrow that maybe EdgeCore has now the better controller solution, I can go and use this controller. I put all my access point to this controller. Or if I decide, no, I don't want my HFCL access points, I want now access points from EdgeCore again. So then I just stay with their controller and take the other hardware. And this is a flexibility that I have at the moment. So I can choose what I want when I want to go a little bit in detail, when I maybe have in future some guys who know about programming, then maybe another solution is better for us where they can dig a little bit deeper in the controller and doing changes by themselves. But at the moment, I would not say that it's like a default solution that we was buying, but it's a little bit standardized that I can use it for my business, for my team. And everything that is more complicated than the daily business, for this I go into EPS and I ask Barry to find a solution. And when Barry not has an answer, then he has contacts to Open Wi-Fi and take it to community and comes back with an answer. So for this is very important for me that also when it's an open solution, open source, we have, as a business unit, we have guaranteed service. So I can always say I have support. When something is not working, I can open a ticket. I have response times. I have guaranteed availability of the systems. This is very, very important for my business. For sure, I can do many things by myself. In the first contact when we started with OpenWiFi, we also installed the controller by ourselves. Took the basic image from TIP and put it in AWS, I think, and we started playing around. But as my team is very limited, we cannot spend every day 2 or 3 hours investigating the controller, changing configurations and these things. I need something that is just working. Yeah? And this solution that we have at the moment is working for us. It's very, very well working, and it's working for a very good price. And this is the most important things. Working solution, good price, stability. What else I need? This is all what my business is asking for. It's what I can wish as an IT manager that I wanted to have. I don't want problems. I just want a working solution. And this is something that I have here.
And just to add to that, like, so that kind of encapsulates the OpenWiFi there, moving from EdgeCore, that the EdgeCore APs still work on the HFCL side. So we have multiple AP vendors who are all doing different cool stuff as well. So Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7, but 6E, Zigbee, there's all kinds of, so you have the R&D from each one of them. You have their cloud controllers, you have open controllers, you also have commercial controllers for depending on whether it's MDU or hospitality, whatever the use case is. So that is the beauty of OpenWiFi right there.
And, Andy and Cory, I know you're part of the TIP community. Kind of maybe a few words on that as to kind of how that sets the OpenWiFi environment up for success and the collaboration that happens in that community.
Yep, happy to do that. To start there, I'm sure Cory will add some other points as well. I ought to mention that one of the committees that I volunteer some time on is the OpenWiFi, the Open LAN Project Steering Committee. So we look after the governance and the sustainability of the project long term within that group. But there are some other groups that are worth raising. There are weekly engineering and prioritization stand-ups, which you can join if you actually want to work on the prioritization of core features and the progression of core features or your bug or your feature wish as it's progressing through the system. Building those relationships with developers is really, really useful. That's a really simple way that you can jump in and out of the community and contribute. And as internet service providers, if you deploy a relatively large number of access points, there's a group called the Open LAN Business Group, which was called the MSP Alliance previously. It's not just for MSPs, it's for ISPs that would deploy large volumes of APs as well. It's an invitation-based group for organizations that deploy APs to talk about the business topics of OpenWiFi. So it's a chance to ask questions to other service providers that are deploying about technology, strategic, vendor, supply chain topics, to get some feedback on your ideas and needs. Those are two communities within the Open LAN, OpenWiFi TIP ecosystem that I'd strongly recommend for service providers.
Yeah, just to add on that, I think Andy did an excellent job of summing that up. But I think for anybody that has not been involved with a community like this before, reinforcing the fact that don't be intimidated. There's a place for everybody. Getting involved, engaging. You don't have to be an engineer to be involved in the community, but talking about the business needs of the projects or use cases that you're trying to solve allow you to connect with like-minded individuals that want this project to succeed. So, participating in the conversation and bringing your perspective, what you're seeing, so that the community at large can continue to evolve the product and make it viable is what's important. And from our experiences, this is a great community. It's, it's people give back. There's obviously some proprietary features that people keep out of the mix, and that's expected. But what's important for all of us is to understand all of the benefits that Open Wi-Fi brings. The only way it's going to continue to work is if we all participate.
All right, that makes sense. And I think, conscious of time and the conversations we've had today, I think it'd be quite nice to round off with maybe a summary of Open Wi-Fi from each of you, and just maybe talking towards how it's transformed your network's potential. So it'd be good to hear from all of you, starting with Cory, as to kind of how you think Open Wi-Fi has impacted and to the title, drove positive impact in your organization.
Sure. Yeah. So just high level summary, the world is becoming more connected by the day. You got to have solutions that allow people to embrace innovation and create, meaningful integrations with the products they're using. This isn't, the solutions that we're talking about right now have went beyond just buying something off the shelf, throwing it in and saying that's good enough. The gap is narrowed between enterprise-based solutions and consumer solutions, and Open Wi-Fi fills that void perfectly. There are a lot of great products on the market from vendors that have been operating in this space for a long time. But if you're looking for choice and resiliency, I think that's really where Open Wi-Fi shines. Choice gives us a diverse set of product line. It gives us the interoperability that I think Andy and both Marco hit on with some of the the case studies that they've went through. It allows you to create the self-directed experiences, whether from a provider or a customer perspective. You're not having that dictated to you by somebody else. You actually get to be part of the solution. And then lastly, the resiliency. The quality of the products are built to last. I think you've heard from the other two panelists or three panelists, we know these are viable. We've had them in the wild for years. There's a significant amount of those deployed, of the equipment deployed. So, as long as people want to jump into the community and help continue to give back and allow us to solve problems through use cases that we might not be aware of, this is built to last. It's a product that can continue to expand and meet all of our needs.
Eloquently put that, Cory. I don't know whether Andy or Marco, you have any other points to add to that.
It's my turn to say to Cory that I think that was a full and complete answer. The only word I would add in addition to innovation and stability is that it gives us a chance to differentiate, build something different to what our neighbours in the industry are building, so that we, as a way of specifically tailoring our service to the verticals that we do well for.
From a distribution point of view, I suppose we could say, so top quality hardware, we can actually reduce your CapEx spend, nearly get rid of your OpEx spend, and maybe allow ISPs to actually start making some money from their hardware again. So yeah, that's what we can provide.
Well, that's good to hear. And I think that's all we've got time for. So we'll end on the last word with you, Barry, there. Which is probably a word all investors want to hear in the current market. So it's good to hear. But yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you to Cory, Andy, Barry, Marco, and Ciara for speaking on today's webinar. Hope you have a lovely Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you all again for ISPA events next year in 2025. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.